Hello, welcome to Identifiers and Variables. Today I will be going over what variables are and what is an identifier. So let's begin by taking a look at variables. A variable stores a value. It's just that simple. It just stores a value. So for example, in algebra you can define a variable as x equals 2. So x is the variable and it's storing a value of 2. Like all variables, the value of x can be changed. And this is the exact same thing that occurs in Java. Java is so similar to math. And every variable also has a type. So a variable can be an integer like when x is equal to 2, or a variable can store some text, or a variable can store a true-false value. Now, we'll get into types a little bit later in the course, but just remember that a variable is simple. It just stores a value just like it does in math, and it has types which we'll be going over later. Next, what is an identifier? So we went over this briefly while reviewing the Hello World program when we were looking at a class declaration, but basically an identifier is a name for a variable, parameter, method, or class, and it consists of letters, digits, underscores, and dollar signs. Some of its restrictions include that it has no spaces at all within it, and it doesn't begin with a digit. It cannot begin with a digit. In addition, it cannot be comprised of any other symbol besides a letter, digit, underscore, or a dollar sign. So let's look at two different examples to see what's a valid and invalid underscore. A valid and invalid identifier. So our first example is hello $_123. Now this is completely fine. There's no spaces. It begins with H, which is not a digit, and it's only made up of letters, digits, underscores, and dollar signs. Now an incorrect example is 1 hello space $_1 space 3. So firstly, it begins with a digit. It begins with 1. That's the first problem. It also consists of many spaces in between, which is another problem, and that's why this is an invalid identifier. So whenever you're using an identifier to name a variable, a method, or a class, it's important to make sure that its name makes sense. If you're talking about the cost of food as a variable, then you want to name the variable cost food, not name it something like X. Make sure that the variable names are something that are indicative of the purpose of the variable, because as you make bigger programs, you'll forget what X represents. So if you use a name that's self-explanatory, that'll save you a lot of time and confusion. That's all for this lecture. We've looked at a little bit about variables, which are just like the ones in math, and identifiers, which are names for variables, parameters, methods, and classes. Thanks for watching.